All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakakadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. This is the second time making this lesson now, so it's not going to be, I'm not going to exactly word it the same way as I did before, but hopefully I'll get the point across. And it's going to be about the Jews and the Greeks and why there was such a big problem between the Jews and the Greeks, and going into how they was both the same nationality, they were both Israelites, but how they had problems between each other because of history in the past, by where certain Israelites that wanted to follow the Greek ways betrayed other Israelites that wanted to keep the laws and caused them to be put to death. And I'm going to be a bit quicker this time than I was the first time round, because maybe I spoke too much in the previous lesson, which how was angered by that, which is why he made the video be deleted. Let me go to Second Maccabees, Second Maccabees, the 4th chapter. This is Second Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 9. Beside this, he promised to assign 150 more, if he might have license to set him up a place of exercise, and for the training of the youth in the fashions of the heathen, and to write them of Jerusalem by the name of Antiochus. So the Israelite wanted to make the Israelites follow the heathen customs. Verse 10, which when the king had granted and had gotten into his hand the rule, he forthwith brought his own nation to the Greekish fashion, and the royal privileges granted of special favour to the Jews by the means of John, the father of Eupolemus, who went ambassador to Rome for amnesty and aid. He took away and put down the governments which were according to the law. He brought up new customs against the law. So he got rid of old priest treaties that the Israelites had in the past, and brought up new customs that would basically make it more difficult for Israelites to keep the laws of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Verse 13. Now such was the height of Greek fashions and increase of heathenish manners through the exceeding profaneness of Jason, that ungodly wretch, and no high priest, that the priest had no courage to serve any more at the altar, but despising the temple and neglecting the sacrifices, hastened to be partakers of the unlawful allowance in the place of exercise, after the manner of Discus called them forth. So certain priests stopped following the laws and decided that they wanted to go gym. That's what it's saying. Verse 15, and this is the reason why they were so against the Jews. The Jews that were the followers of the law were so against the Greeks, the non-followers of the law, that wanted to follow Greek ways. Verse 15, not setting by the honor of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all, by reason whereof sore calamity was upon them, for they had them to be their enemies and avengers, whose customs they followed so earnestly, and unto whom they desired to be like in all things. So they was basically, man, to use it in the modern day terms, they was basically cooning, man, wanting to kissing ass, and wanting to be like their oppressors. They wanted to be like their oppressors so bad, and that's the reasons why there was Israelites that was getting called Greeks after times had gone by, because it was made pretty much illegal to call yourself an Israelite, which I'm going to read now. Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or profess himself at all to be a Jew. So it is illegal for a man to say that he was who he was. And that's the reason why there was such a problem between the Israelites that kept the law and the Israelites that didn't keep the law, because after time had gone by, both types of Israelite had descendants, but both types of Israelite also knew what had happened in the past, especially those that kept the laws. Man, they would have known this history of how Israelites betrayed and backstabbed But those that was just wanting to be Greeks would have over time forgot that they was even Israelites, and would have just been keeping ways of heathens, man. Which I'm gonna get a scripture on that as well, to show how Israelites wanted to just keep the ways of Esau. This is 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 11. In those days there went out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward therein, that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. So they was basically made to be considered uncircumcised by following a wicked way. And that's why when it says that, and they were called uncircumcision, which by that which is called the circumcision, that's where it comes from. Because Israelites that carried on keeping the laws was considered as circumcised, but Israelites that wasn't keeping the laws was considered as uncircumcised. And when you carry on in this chapter, you find out that it was made illegal for Israelites to keep certain customs, man, which let me find that. First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 48. That they should also leave the children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the law and change the ordinances, which this happened to some Israelites after times had gone by. This had happened. They ended up stopped following their own ways and started following the ways of the Greeks. And all you have to do is look at the times that we're living in right now, and you can blatantly see that Israelites over in different lands call themselves of the land whatever they are in, and follow the customs of whatever land they're in. But if you just take away me using the term Israelite, there'll be let's say there's a man that calls himself black, living in Italy, right? He'll be making spaghetti and he'll be making spaghetti, lasagnas, and just basically following every single stereotype that you can think of, following the ways of Italians, man. He'll be basically following every single stereotype that you can think of, and following the ways of Italians. And if there's an Israelite that grew up in China, he'll be learning martial arts and following every single stereotype that you can think of that they'll be doing in China. Same thing in England. He'll be sipping tea, eating crumpets, you know what I mean? Like, he'll be following the ways of the lands that he's in. And they'll grow up thinking that they're those. Whereas you'll have some Israelites that might grow up in those lands that they're kind of like, I don't feel like this is really my way. I don't really feel like this is my spirit. And those would have been the Israelites that would have been the people that Paul would have been able to graft in and back into their own way of being. But some people that are called Christians, and some people across in this world right now that are following a doctrine of lies called Christianity, don't want people to believe this, and because they want to try and make salvation be for everybody. But it's not, though. It's not for everybody. It's only for the Israelites. But when you understand this history, which it took me quite a long time to understand these things, but once you understand it, you know that it makes sense. It makes sense that the Israelites were, it makes sense that the Gentiles or the Greeks were Israelites. Once you understand these things, man. This is Galatians chapter 3 and verse 28. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither bond nor free. There is neither male nor female. For you are all one in a Mashiach. And if you be a Mashiach, then ye are Abraham's seed and the heirs according to the promise. So if you're a follower of Yahweh Shai and you're an Israelite, right, then you're Abraham's seed. You're going to get what Abraham was promised. But if you're not believers of Yahweh Shai and you're an Israelite, then you ain't going to get that, whether you was following the law or not, because you couldn't get past the stumbling block, which was Yahweh Shai. And that's why the whole Jew and Greek thing was such a big deal. But people that don't understand the history of the history in the Maccabees are not going to understand that. They're not going to understand why it even mentions a Greek in the first place. because it could have mentioned anything else. Greek's not actually a nationality according to the Bible. There's 18 nations according to the Bible, and Greek is not one of them. Greek is not a nationality according to the Bible. And when you go to the book of Genesis, it doesn't mention Greek in there regarding nationalities according to the Bible. That's not in there. That was a more modernized way that Esau ended up coming up with. But I thought I'd just make this lesson to make that point, going into the reason why the Jew and the Greek thing was such a big deal, man. All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the nation of Israel. Shalom.